Chosen one, I need you to pause and internalize this truth. It is my key, no mere accident, that you have found yourself watching this video at this specific time. The universe, the divine orchestration of your life, has purposefully aligned this moment so that these words can reach your spirit, not your ears. God is speaking directly into your current situation. There is a specific individual, a face that immediately flashed into your mind the second you saw the topic of this message. This is not the product of a runaway imagination or a benign coincidence. This is a profound, unambiguous, divine warning that you must not dismiss. The decisions you make concerning this connection, in this very season, possess the power to irrevocably reroute your destiny. You must lean in with every ounce of spiritual attention you possess, because the message that follows is not based on fleeting emotion. It is rooted in eternal purpose and the highest spiritual truth. God is urgently calling you to sharpen your focus, to look past the trivial details, and to recognize the gravity of what you are experiencing. This is far greater than a simple narrative of romance, struggle, disappointment, or even a deep bond. This moment, this person, this entire situation is fundamentally connected to your core assignment, your divine alignment, and the inevitable unfolding of your future. You must understand that the forces of darkness, the true enemy, are absolutely terrified of what will happen. If you stand firm and endure this trial, it is precisely because of that fear that this crucial message has been delivered to you right now. The intensity of the opposition is proof of the purpose that lies within this connection. Before we dive deeper into the core warning, I want you to take a powerful, symbolic action. If the truth of these words is resonating in the deepest part of your spirit, I urge you to hit the like button. No, this is a small gesture, yet it serves as a spiritual seal, publicly affirming your agreement and acceptance of the breakthrough that heaven is releasing over you. If you haven't yet, subscribe to this channel, so you are always the first to receive the divine instruction that God places here for His chosen ones. Most importantly, I need you to go to the comments right now and drop the number 99. Why 99? It symbolizes the one who was almost lost, the soul the shepherd would leave everything else behind to rescue. By writing it, you are making an irreversible declaration. I am not a castaway. I am found, and I will not surrender the sacred trust God placed in my hands. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear will fundamentally alter how you perceive this relationship, and, more importantly, how you see the active, intentional hand of God be moving in your life. The genuine warning is just beginning. Chosen one, a fundamental truth that far too many believers overlook is this: God never orchestrates an encounter without a mighty reason. The moment your life trajectory violently collided with this person's wasn't just happenstance. It wasn't a casual meeting on a Tuesday. It was not a throwaway chapter in your biography. No, it was a sacred divine appointment, meticulously scheduled before the creation of time. Take a moment and genuinely reflect. Can you recall the very instant your paths converged? Perhaps it was a dialogue that felt profoundly familiar, a deep sense of déjà vu. Maybe it was a simple gaze that inexplicably seemed to look straight into your soul, or an intense, immediate stirring in your spirit that loudly whispered, "Stop. Pay attention." This is not ordinary. That particular, electrifying moment carried the signature of heaven by Rower itself, signing off on a connection that the enemy knew would eventually become a major spiritual battlefield. And it became a battlefield, not because it lacked substance, but precisely because it was saturated with immense, undeniable purpose. Consider the fleeting connections in life. They vanish swiftly, fading into the background like shadows at sunset. But then, there are the profound, unforgettable ones that refuse to leave, the ones that engrave an unexplainable, weighty mark upon the deepest parts of your soul. This individual is not merely someone you stumbled upon while traveling your road. No, this is a person irrevocably tethered to your life mission. This person's presence in your life is meant to serve a divine purpose, to shape the unformed parts of you, to relentlessly challenge you out of complacency, and to propel you forward, closer to the high destiny God has painstakingly designed for your life. This is the precise reason the bond you share feels so unique, so incredibly weighty, so fundamentally unshakable, even when the most violent trials attempt to tear it to shreds. The reason it endures is because it was never ever built on flimsy human desire or fleeting intention. It was built, cornerstone by cornerstone, upon explicit divine instruction and eternal covenant. Let's maintain absolute clarity. This is not about chasing a romantic ideal or indulging in fantasy. This is strictly about purpose. God does not connect his chosen, set-apart ones with others without a life-altering reason. Sometimes the person standing directly in front of you holds the literal keys to powerful doors that you cannot unlock alone. Occasionally, they are designated as a spiritual mirror, showing you the fractured parts of your soul you desperately wanted to hide, but must confront to achieve the next level of growth. Other times, they are the ones specifically assigned to stand in the gap beside you when the most violent storms rage, ensuring that the divine promise residing within you is not tragically aborted due to sheer loneliness or isolation. You must realize that every single detail carries profound meaning. Every conversation, every significant challenge, every reconciliation, every painful moment, all of it has been actively weaving a majestic tapestry, far more complex and greater than your current emotional state. And here is the profound spiritual mystery. The enemy sees and understands this grand design, even when it remains entirely invisible to you. He knows the immense danger posed by two souls standing perfectly aligned under the protective command of heaven. He knows exactly what happens when true purpose collides with unshakable unity. This is why the enemy attacks become so intensely focused. This is why a thick fog of confusion subtly sneaks into the connection. This is why relentless doubt whisper their destructive lies louder when the lights go out. The absolute harder the enemy is fighting you, the clearer and more undeniable the proof becomes. The forces of darkness do not waste their spiritual energy on trivial, meaningless connections that pose no threat. They only engage in all-out war against what actively threatens the foundation of their kingdom. Chosen one, commit this powerful truth to memory and engrave it upon your spirit. When God pens a story, the enemy fights it with maximum force. That is why you feel such immense, crushing resistance. That is why you've cried out, questioning, why does this specific connection hurt so profoundly? If it is truly from God, why is it so heavy? The answer is simple and terrifying. It hurts precisely because it matters. It is heavy precisely because it is holy and set apart. If this connection held no eternal weight, it would have long dissolved easily, quietly, fading away without any fight whatsoever. The undeniable fact that you are still here, still spiritually tethered to this person, still unable to fully let go despite surviving every chaotic storm, is absolute evidence of a divine purpose. Do you finally see the bigger picture? That initial encounter was not merely the start of a relationship. It was the ignition of a profound spiritual assignment. Heaven purposefully placed something within this spiritual bond that neither of you fully comprehends yet, and the enemy will throw everything he has at you to obliterate it before you both realize its true, terrifying power. That is the reason you absolutely must hold on, not with blind hope or passive resignation, but with sharp spiritual discernment, with unceasing prayer, and with an unwavering faith that what God has intricately designed cannot be undone by temporary chaos. Feel this deeply in your core. You are currently standing on the sacred, consecrated ground. This connection was never a mistake or an error. It was, from the very start, heaven's masterful plan. And the moment you finally grasp that profound truth, every aspect of the relentless battle you are facing will suddenly make perfect, terrifying sense. Let me now pose this critical question for you to allow to burn deep in your heart until the next time we speak. If God Almighty Himself went through the enormous trouble of intricately weaving your path with this person's path, would you dare to continue treating it as ordinary or disposable? Or will you finally begin to see it for the spiritual battlefield? It truly is, the one the enemy is absolutely terrified that you, the chosen one, will ultimately win. You must now open your spiritual eyes and truly see the real battle you are currently standing in. This conflict is not primarily about simple arguments, silly misunderstandings, or even periods of prolonged silence. This is not centered on personality clashes or the old festering wounds that occasionally resurface to haunt you. What you are currently undergoing is far more complex, far darker, and significantly more calculated than anything your natural eyes can perceive. The scriptures are unambiguous. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. This means that the profound tension you feel, the heavy discouragement that relentlessly weighs upon your chest, the sudden, overwhelming thoughts of simply giving up, none of it originates from the person who is standing right in front of you. It is the enemy's calculated strategy, planting seeds of defeat in your mind, hoping you will voluntarily surrender a sacred covenant you have only begun to understand the power of. The enemy's methodology is always subtle, cloaked in familiarity. He never shows up with a literal banner of destruction. Instead, he whispers lies. He takes tiny, manageable problems and magnifies them until they appear to you as impossible, impassable mountains. He takes one single small disagreement and stretches it into a devastating narrative that screams, "See, this is definitively doomed to fail." He skillfully resurrects old, unresolved wounds and cleverly disguises them as present, unshakable truths, making you truly believe that history is absolutely destined to repeat itself. His main strategy is not a brute force attack. It is erosion. He does not need to destroy you in one single catastrophic blow. He only needs to relentlessly wear down your faith, inch by painful inch, until you willingly release the grip on what God Himself joined together. And here lies the most significant danger. If you choose to surrender this connection now, you are not merely walking away from another human being. You are in reality walking away from one divine, non-negotiable mission. This connection is not just about human companionship or comfort. It is about an unfolding kingdom purpose. There are spiritual battles that you were never intended to fight in isolation. There are profound high callings you were never meant to carry without the help of this divine alignment. Heaven aligned you with this person for a reason that transcends your current understanding. If you make the choice to walk away in this critical season, you will also simultaneously walk away from the very assignment that is intrinsically tied to your union. The enemy is fully aware of this, and that is why his attacks are so relentless and unforgiving. He knows that if you both remain faithful and stand together, you will inevitably bear by spiritual fruit that absolutely terrifies him. But if you simply leave, he achieves his victory without having to lift a single finger in the fight. Think deeply. How many times have you been on the verge of quitting, only to feel a profound, deep, undeniable ache in your spirit, as if an immense, unseen force was powerfully pulling you back? That spiritual ache is your spirit, recognizing the gravity, that this battle is not fundamentally about emotion, it is about destiny. You can feel it in your very bones that the fight is exponentially bigger than just the two of you. This is because the enemy is not merely fighting your relationship. He is fighting the massive ripple effect. It is destined to create in the world if it survives this trial, when two chosen, set-apart people stand together, completely a unified and unbreakable faith. They become a living, breathing weapon against the forces of darkness. They shatter generational cycles. They bring profound healing to bloodlines. They release unimaginable blessings, not just for their own lives, but for generations stretching into the future. That is why the enemy is so utterly desperate to break you apart now, before you even become aware of the sheer, combined spiritual power you carry. Chosen one, you must ask yourself this question with brutal, uncompromising honesty. Is the voice persistently telling me to walk away truly emanating from God? Or is it coming from the one who is utterly terrified of my union? You must discern the source. God's voice never speaks in fear. He never whispers hopelessness or despair. He never leads you with a feeling of deep distress. The voice of the shepherd always brings peace even in the midst of correction. It brings direction even amidst confusion. It brings clarity even in the silence. If the voice you are hearing is only pushing you toward the single simplest option of quitting, then you must definitively discern its spiritual source. The enemy is masterful at mimicking logic. He will skillfully exploit your emotions. He will cleverly disguise the act of spiritual defeat as profound wisdom. But deep down, your spirit knows the profound difference, and do not allow yourself to be deceived. The immense storm currently raging around you is not proof that your connection is weak. It is undeniable, absolute proof that your connection is powerful and carries spiritual weight. If this union were truly meaningless, the enemy would have absolutely left you alone a long time ago. He does not waste his precious spiritual resources on anything that poses no threat to his power. The clear, undeniable fact that you are currently under such an intense, prolonged spiritual siege is the unassailable evidence that your connection holds significant, measurable weight in the spiritual realm. And if you let go now, you are handing over victory not just over your relationship, but also over the powerful assignment God entrusted to you through it. So, this is where the urgent call to action truly rises. You cannot afford to surrender. Not now. Not when the spiritual stakes are this incredibly high. Your perseverance in this moment is not merely about human love. It is an act of spiritual obedience to the very God who brought this person into your life with clear, divine intention. If you walk away prematurely, you will never know the full potential of what would have been unlocked had you only remained faithful. But if you choose to endure, you will eventually look back on this season and realize that every single battle was simply a setup for a massive breakthrough. Pause for a moment and let this one thought profoundly sink into your core. The tension and conflict you feel is not proof you should give up. It is the clearest proof that you are standing on the absolute threshold eyes of something the enemy vehemently fears. The attacks are loud and destructive because the purpose behind them is exponentially louder and more powerful. And so I ask you once more, let this final question echo deep in your spirit as you move forward into your day. Whose voice are you truly choosing to listen to? Is it the voice of the God who meticulously designed your powerful future, or is it the voice of the enemy, who is utterly terrified of it coming to pass? The decision is now yours, chosen one. Would you like to explore specific prayer strategies to help you stand firm in this spiritual warfare?